Welcome back to the Business Forum Show. I'm Kevin Hunter. My special guest in studio with me today, Kit Welchlin. I said that correctly, didn't I, Kit?
That's right, Kevin. Very well done.
All right, perfect. And sitting in co-hosting with me today, Craig Nestor. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hello.
Good morning.
Kit, get started by talking just briefly about what exactly you do.
Well, my current business is called Welchlin Communication Strategies, and that's a seminar company, provides speeches, seminars, and workshops to help people and organizations become better at whatever it is that they do. Kind of the bottom line is I help people work together better, and I help organizations get their people to get more done in less time.
Sure. Okay. So what's really your, when you mentioned that you do speaking, you do seminars, training, coaching, consulting, what really is your wheelhouse? What's the ideal client for you?
Well, the ideal client would be someone that sees that there's a connection between symptoms and really the causes. I think a lot of time in professional development, people deal with the symptoms, but they never really dig down deep enough to find out what the cause is. And I always look at it kind of like if I was standing along the banks of a river and my job is to dive out, rescue people, resuscitate them, give them a sandwich and can of pop and say, have a nice day. And it's a really good job. But there's a lot of people drowning in the river, so I'm diving in, rescuing them, getting them a sandwich, can of pops, have a nice day. And the next person I dive in, rescue, get out of the chair of somebody else here, and, what are you doing in the river, And so I decided to work my way up the river to find out why there's so many people drowning in the river. So I'm diving in, rescuing people 100 yards, have a sandwich, and I get up to the bridge, and I find there's some jerk standing on the bridge pushing people in the river. So what should I do? Should I just go back down to my chair with my cooler with popping sandwiches and keep diving in, rescuing people, give them a sandwich, a can of pop, and say, have a nice day?
Or give the jerk a kick in the pants and get him off the bridge.
Take my 15-minute break.
Yes.
But if we take care of the problem or the cause, then all the symptoms disappear. And sometimes people will call me and say, hey, we need you to come in and give a seminar on team building. And I say, what makes you think they need a team building seminar? Well, they have a lot of conflict. I said, well, actually, on a team, conflict is a good sign, because that tells you people are still willing to be completely open and honest about what they think and how they feel. They might need a conflict resolution or a negotiation seminar, but they don't need a team building seminar. If it's really quiet and nobody's talking to each other anymore, well, that would be a problem. Then we need a team building seminar. So sometimes my clients appreciate that I'm not there just to sell them a seminar, but we really need to solve the problem. And my whole goal as a consultant or as a speaker is that I cover the material in a way they never have to hire me again on that. And so then they trust that if there's some other problem or some other situation, they'll call me as a valid resource, and I can provide guidance on that too.
If I say wrong way Marshall, do you remember what the story was?
No.
Marshall was actually a running back for the Minnesota Vikings years ago and ran into the line of scrimmage, got disoriented, and then turned around and ran to his own end zone.
Yes.
And his players had to tackle him before he got there. Now, obviously, the problem wasn't Marshall's running in that particular play. It was just the direction he was going.
That's right.
And what's really interesting to me is I have been in organizations and in some cases in management position where the guy above me said, Kevin, there's this guy, Larry, who's working out on the shipping dock, and he needs to get fired, because he has a wrong attitude every time he comes here, with a bad attitude. The whole shipping dock has a bad attitude. So things are either good or bad based on Larry. You need to get rid of Larry. And my feedback to that was, well, Larry's just running to the wrong end zone. That's all. We have to, because negative energy is still energy. You just got to turn it around to the correct end zone. And in many cases, by working with these people that had this negative attitude, it was because of things that had been done to them, things that had been said to them. They aren't compensated properly. They don't feel like the job is meaningful. There's all kinds of reasons that can be fixed in the organization so Larry doesn't have a bad attitude. And figuring out how to get them to come to work with a good attitude gives you a great attitude doc 5 days a week.
Yeah, in my business, we sometimes refer to that as emotional contagia. It's kind of like a virus, and people kind of catch it. So if you are a leader, I always remind them of the research by Princeton University that people determine how attractive, trustworthy, competent, and likable you are within 100 milliseconds, a tenth of a second.
Wow.
So I tell my city, county leaders and managers or private industry folks that, when you're a leader of an organization, there is no false entrance. There is no false exit. You have to be prepared as you're pulling off the highway, pulling off the county road, parking in the parking lot, walking to the building. What frame of mind are you in? Because people are going to catch that emotional contagion. It'll spread like any other virus. And then on the way out the door, they'll watch to see how you leave the parking lot. And you kind of set the standard for what's going to be the tone of the workplace that day. Is it going to be a more warm and sunny day, or is it going to be kind of a cold, drizzly, awful day? And a leader has a tremendous impact on that.
Absolutely. Craig, you had a great analogy about the silo, and I want to visit with Kit a little bit about the big corporations that he's had experience with, but share the analogy of the silo that you did before the show.
Well, everybody has their own experience with a company, and then every department has their own experience inside of a company, and they kind of protect their own career and their own department's career. But we know the fundamental success of a company is when we can get these teams to work together. And I know you speak on this. Give us some help on that. Give us some specific things that we can do in our workplace to contribute to this.
Yeah, whenever I work with organizations and the issue of silos come up, I'm a farm boy. I grew up on a hog and dairy farm in southern Minnesota. And if you grew up on a farm and you understand what a silo is, it's a silo where, wet corn or wet alfalfa would be put in, and then later on we used to have to pitch it out. We didn't have the luxury of a silo unloader.
The aroma, by the way, is fantastic.
It's pretty strong. And so on the way up the silo, there's doors that are on the side of the silo. And as you're filling the silo, you keep filling the door, so you can always look in, you can make some adjustments. But then as you're emptying the silo, you remove a door, throw the silage out, go down a little bit deeper, and you're tired of pitching it up in the air, you open another silo door. So there's a series of doors on the sides of silos. For some reason, though, in organizations, people lock those doors. What we really need to do is open up all those doors so everybody that's a frontline supervisor can freely share the information and the experience that they have. Open up the next set of doors so middle management can share the information freely. Got to get rid of that turf battle that can cause so much trouble with politics and people not sharing information, literally sabotaging each other, almost working against each other. It's kind of like salespeople would say, if you do more marketing, we can sell more. And then the accounting department saying, well, if you didn't spend so much money, we'd be profitable. So you always have that kind of dialectical tension, I guess, between those warring departments. But if you open up all the doors, not only do you get the stink out of the silo, but you also have that free flow of the information and the the processes and the products that you're putting out. So it makes it better.
Well, I get that as the visual. Yeah. I get the visual of that. Rubber meets the road. Implementation. What would that look like? Yeah.
What I usually tell people is, when you were hired, and this usually comes up in the seminar on how to run effective meetings. You said in the job interview that you have this experience, you have this background, you have this knowledge, you'll share the insight, you'll provide information that we make better decisions and solve our problems more swiftly. And then you come to a meeting and you don't say anything? And a meeting where it's costing maybe several hundred, if not several $1,000s an hour, and you sit there when you said just a year or two ago when we hired you, what a great resource you would be. So I just really hammer them that either you say something in the meetings, or you don't get to come back to the meetings and have the coffee and the donuts and the cookies. We're going to bring somebody in that will actually share that information. So sometimes, I think managers and leaders want to be buddies instead of bosses, and they kind of let go of those principles that, what you said when you would hire the. So the bottom line is this. I wrap up those presentations by saying, if I was an actor, I get paid to play a role. Guess what? At work, you get paid to play a role. And in this seminar, I've just given you all your lines, all your stage directions. Now play your part, or you will need to leave and someone else will step into that role. If you're ever in a play, there's always somebody that's the second, somebody else that's studied the lines. So if you get sick, you can't perform, they can step right into that part. You can be sure in any organization that there's somebody that wants your job, that wants to eat your lunch. They want your position. So you better pick up your game and play your part. So that's where I usually get to the silos.
You're making me uncomfortable, kid.
I make a lot of people uncomfortable.
Right.
Well, something that I wanted to share with you, though, that I think lends to that dynamic a little bit is that in this I've seen in many organizations is that people use this phrase, we need to get on the same page. And a lot of times it comes from the top down. But what they're saying isn't necessarily that we need to be focused on the same mission, and how each of us accomplish it is a different issue. But what they're saying to some respects is I want people to think alike, act alike, talk alike. And that's what they equate as being on the same page. And my response to that would be, if there's 12 people on your management team and they do think alike, act alike, talk alike, there's 11 of them not needed. And you need to find some people who do have some unique thought processes. But if the guy on top, either through ridicule or through, no, that's not a very good idea, or whatever their feedback is to people voicing that stuff, they're creating a process that stifles the guy who says, I thought of whatever, but I'm not going to say it because I'm actually not on the same page, and I do think differently on this issue. But if I raise this issue, I get shot down. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, for years, and I haven't given up on this concept because I find that stagnation can occur because everyone lines up and tries to act the same, think the same way, but there's often meetings outside the meetings that can kind of cause trouble in the organization later. So there's this old technique that I use where it's called, you need people on the team that care. And the C stands for creators, idea people. Here's something we could do. Here's an idea. What else we could do? And the problem is creators have a hard time shutting it off. Then you need people that are advancers that take 2 or 3 of those ideas and advance it, taking the personal professional risk that I didn't support your idea, but that's all right, kind of the salesperson. Then you have refiners that say, wait a minute, how much is this going to cost? How many clients are we talking about? What kind of space? Then you need executors. Executors take the plan, put it into action. And they say, will you just make up your mind and tell us what you want us to do? So the key of the leader is to be the facilitator, recognize those natural handoff points. Have enough ideas, which 2 or 3 will work, which one can we afford? Go do it.
We're visiting with Kit Welchlin here on the Business Forum Show. I'm Kevin Hunter. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away.